One thing I noticed about the census when I looked at the figures that came out, I think we got them last Thursday, was that Wellington's population, everywhere else in New Zealand, even Wanganui's population had gone up, Wellington's had declined.
That's right. It's a big surprise and a big concern. Of course, Wellington actually has fewer people, Wellington City, has fewer people than we had in 2018, the last census, which is pretty staggering and scary.
Yeah. Well, and can I just go back on that? And you are the people, and I'm not being nasty here, it's just a culture thing, the people that I would have expected to fill out the census were people in Wellington. I mean, you're not disenchanted from the government. You don't distrust government as a general rule. God, you work for it. So it's not like there was a massive sort of civil disobedience campaign not to fill out census forms, was there?
No, I don't think the problems with the census occurred, in the core urban areas like Wellington. And you're right. We're full of bureaucrats, and they like filling out paperwork. So I don't see why we wouldn't have filled in the census properly, which makes it doubly wrong. Doubly bad that we have fewer people. We're not growing. And I've had a quick look in the census, and it's even scarier in a way because the people who are not there anymore are the very young. It's the children. We've stopped having families in Wellington. We've dropped almost 3,000.
I've just been talking about that. Yeah, so you're not breeding.
Well, it's not that we're not breeding. I just don't think people can afford to live in Wellington if they've got a family. I mean, it's as simple as that. First home. I mean, our houses are so unaffordable, and that means we've literally got fewer children in Wellington City. Thousands of fewer children, and our school rolls are dropping.
Yeah, house prices aren't that much more than Hawke's Bay and they're certainly less, I have to say, than Central Otago or Queenstown, Lakes and Wanaka. There's got to be another reason, Tony, surely, than house prices.
I think it's the overall cost of living. It's not just house prices, but people also have to commute to work. Parking in town, if you've got a job, it's very expensive, over $20 a day. It all adds up, and Wellington City, something is causing it, and I would probably put the finger on the house on the cost of living.
Well, you probably didn't listen to Professor Spooner just prior to 11, but he also said there's a bit of a correlation. I don't know. Yeah, a correlation. I don't know if it's causative, but a correlation between the education of women and women in the workforce and basically breeding. He says the more educated women are, the more they're in the workforce, the less likely they are to have children. And in fact, if they do, it's sort of one and done, which I'd never heard that phrase before, but one and done. Do you think there might be some truth to that in Wellington as well?
I think it is. I mean, we do have the highest salaries in New Zealand overall. I mean, there's certainly plenty of people who are still struggling, and we've got students living here too. But yeah, I think it's a very professional city. It's a very white-collar sort of set of professions in Wellington City, and you're quite right that women are doing very well there, but perhaps the career is overriding the incentive to settle down and have a family, which is a big interruption in a woman's life.
Yeah, well, there's that. Okay, so let's just put that there because that would seem to be a cause. And if Professor Spooner's come up with it and he's, hardly a conservative, then there'd probably be some validity. The second thing is, he also said the cost of buying a house. So I've bought a house in Wellington or anywhere, to be fair. I could have bought it in Napier or, as I said, could have bought it in Cromwell, Tony. And I've got now a big mortgage and I'm double income. To service my mortgage, I can't have children, can I?
No, you can't until you've got that mortgage below enough to be serviced by one income. People have very few choices.
I suppose they do have the choice out of the budget, do they, Tony, that you could actually have your child and then plan to go back to work pretty quickly, and that's what childcare's for, and now I've got a childcare subsidy that's doubled in the budget. I don't know. Does that incentivise me?
I think it's in the mix, and I think people are trying to come up with solutions to enable people to settle and have families. But in Wellington City, it's not working. It may be working in other parts, but we have got a problem. Houston, we've got a problem. If your city is not growing, And our city is entirely planned on growing by over 1,000 people a year, and it's not happening. So something is wrong, and so I think you've got to go back and look at what is really happening there. So for me, as a person who loves Wellington City, I get worried because I want to have families here. I literally chose to live in Wellington City and raise a family, and when I did it, it was affordable. My wife didn't work while we had kids, and it was a struggle. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't easy, but it was possible. But it seems to be becoming more impossible. Or if you do want to have a family, you need to go further out and get a house in Upper Hutt or, up Pororua, that sort of place. That's where the affordable housing is, and you just spend your life, driving in a car to and from work.
But it also raises a sort of existential question, doesn't it, Tony? Which is, and that do we need children to make us feel happy? I would imagine there are a large number of professional couples in Wellington who are asking that question and coming out with, actually, no, we don't. What do you think?
I think, look, people's own journey to happiness is their own choice, and certainly we've got more choices than any previous generation, so that's a good thing. But I did listen to some of your guests, and you did note that the number of women who are having children later in life has increased significantly. And I think that's still a choice that women want to make. And perhaps we're not getting the mix right so they can make that choice. Maybe we're actually stopping them because of the affordability, cost of living, and even and there's still a bit of a feeling that if you're not a career woman, you're not, if you're at home, that's not as important as a career, and that's a dilemma, I think, that may affect a couple's choice.
I think that might be more of a Wellington or a sort of a university education perspective. I don't know that people in the tradie sector necessarily think that.
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps you're right. Look, I just think it is. I think having a family, because I've got 3 kids. Having a family is the best thing I've ever done. I mean, the most satisfying thing I've ever done. And in terms of my whole life,
and you've done your bit too, haven't you? You've done your bit. 3. That's more than 2. Yes, that's right. Where's your King's birthday honour for having children? Honestly. All right. I'm
behind you in the queue.
Yeah, well, that's true. I've done my bit. I've spread myself around. I've diluted the gene pool, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the reality is that, ironically, I didn't realise I was a hero despite myself. All right. Now, Tony, moving on. I'm also interested that you've had a sort of major epochal political event happen in the last week in Wellington. And that is that Tory whānau has gone off script, but not off script into the red light district of Wellington, off script into true evil. She's ended up as a political ally of yours. How did that happen?
I'm still not quite sure, but I think she's learning the ropes, and I think she's learning the ropes. And so, look, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. She's made a hard decision. I've always challenged the people on the left to make the hard decisions, and Tory has made the hard decision to sell the airport shares, not to spend up big, but just to diversify our investments so that to buy some other investments overseas, so that when the big one strikes, we don't lose all the money that's tied up in our airport.
Okay, perhaps I should explain to people, because we're having this conversation without people being aware. Last week, the Wellington City Council voted for its long-term plan. Most councillors, I think, did last week. Yeah, we did as well. And by a vote of 10-8, with Mayor Tory whānau and I think her deputy, who is the Green Mayor, is it Meng Foon, or whoever it is?
Laurie Foon.
Yeah. Voted with Tony Randle and all the other Conservatives around the council to sell your 37.5% share in Wellington Airport. Is that right?